Hey giants. There are cubic kilometres of this rock underneath Brisbane. To a very large extent, Brisbane is built out of and on this rock. Over 200 million years ago, a fiery rain pummeled the countryside we now call Brisbane, and no one knows where it came from. So I've got some ideas. Born out of a volcanic caldera. But where? This rock exists from Victoria Point up to Lakeside Raceway. No one knows where it came from. We're going to have a crack at that. Anyway, I've got to stop waffling. We've got to get cracking. That's a big job. And you know what I'm going to say. If you dig the vibe, like and subscribe. And let's go. Well, here we go, folks. We're 170 k's up. I've just brought up the Brisbane Tuff, roughly where it lies in Brisbane. 170 k's above Brisbane, about the lowest height you can orbit a satellite, about half the height of the space station. So we'll drop in and have a look, because this stuff is spread over a very large area of Brisbane. And remember, we're talking surface geology here. It doesn't exist much below the surface. It's 100 or 150 metres thick in places. Starting down at Victoria Point, across the Tingalpa Reservoir, there's a couple of lenses of tuff down here still left behind. If we come over here, we can see there's this area. We're heading to the university now because there's a big piece. There's a couple of tiny bits out at the Centenary Bridge, which we will have a look at. Some stuff at the university. I've got some video of that for you, just underneath this side of the uni, actually, more this side than the other side. Then we go across the river, it starts again, all under Wollongabba is tuff, right the way through there, right up through Kangaroo Point. Not the actual tip of Kangaroo Point, that's not tuff. Howard Smith Wharf's the eastern side, all under the valley there. It heads up north here, breaks at Breakfast Creek because it's been eroded there. There's quarries here at Stafford, just saw one there, the old quarry down there where the old people's home is. And we're just coming into Aspley. Now, Little Cabbage Tree Creek there is the northern boundary, and where they cut this reservoir into the hill, the reason this is a hill is it's all tuff, and you can see the face there, and I've got some video of that, and that tuff is really hard up here. It's quite steep too. So if we now head north, we've got to go way up to Lake Kawamba, just on the other side of the North Pine Dam, Lakeside Raceway, there's tuff there. And we go just a little further north and there's a private property there which I can't get onto. But that place right there, that is the northernmost tuff in the world, right there. Well folks, while it's just you, me and the tree my camera's sitting in here, let's have a talk about the name of this rock. You'll hear me refer to it as Brisbane Tuff. You'll hear it referred to as tuff. You'll also hear it referred to as tough. And let me assure you, I still don't know. I hear a lot of American geologists say tuff, so we know that's wrong. It comes from an Italian word called tuffo, which refers to a specific rock that grows around Tivoli in Italy. And that came from a Roman word called tophus, which referred to a rock that was the same type. So you have two syllables there, both the same. I got my pronouncing from the word stuff, which is, take the S off the front, tough, tuff, tough, tough. In the end, I don't care. Say whatever you like. I used to be a bit of a knob about this, but not anymore. Say whatever you like. I'm going to say tuff because I'm from North Queensland and I'm old. I ain't going to learn another word. Someone in the comments, if you want to tell me the correct way to pronounce it, I'll listen to anything you've got to say. But certainly something that came out of it, by the way, there was the Romans had their cement was called pozzolanus. When you see all those trucks driving around with pozzolanic on the side of them, carrying dry cement, means a little more now. Anyway, on with the show. Well, folks, 200 million years ago, the world looked a bit different. All the continents were arranged in one supercontinent known as Pangea, and the body in the north broke off later on to become Laurasia, and the body in the south broke off to become Gondwana. But at this point in time, it was all together. And you can see down the bottom there, someone's kindly put all the modern countries on this map so we can see where they were. Let's have a bit of a closer look at where Australia was, and more importantly where Brisbane was. And the reason I say this is at one stage the South Pole existed in the east coast of Australia, and Brisbane was not very far from the South Pole, but there was no ice on the South Pole because this big landmass of Pangea essentially stretched from pole to pole. It prevented circumpolar currents from developing, so the poles weren't isolated from the weather systems like they are now. So they weren't iced, they were tropical. Antarctica's full of coal, which came from about this time, and it came from tropical-like environments. So yeah, it's a very interesting time. The other thing is there was no dinosaurs yet. You know, there was a few little guys, maybe some little chicken-sized dinosaurs and things called archaeosaurs, but the big rah-rah dinosaurs, no, not yet. And this is when we're talking about this event in Brisbane at this time. The Earth did look quite a bit different. Looked a bit like, you know, North Queensland, Tasmania and bits of Victoria. And the reason it was so hot was because the CO2 levels were 4 times higher than they are today. Because only a few tens of millions of years earlier, the Siberian traps went off, and this was the biggest CO2 event in the history of the Earth, and it warmed the Earth up for millions of years. Even though there were no dinosaurs, I'll tell you who was here though. Crocs. Well folks, before we work out where this tuff came from, we better discuss something about what it is. So here you have a pyroclastic flow running down the side of a stratovolcano. Now, this is what tuff is. It is layers and layers of these pyroclastic flows. Probably not from a stratovolcano, but we'll talk more about that. So this stuff is incandescent in the dark. It's absolutely devastating to everything in its path. And in places, we've got 200 metres of this in Brisbane. So if you look at this one, this is one running out across the water. So if you're in the ocean, it doesn't save you. This stuff hits the surface of the ocean, turns to steam, and it actually goes faster. But the Brisbane tuff did not come from a stratovolcano. It came from a caldera. So we know over at Indooroopilly, we've got cracks that had rhyolitic eruptions. We've seen them in the rock. We've also got somewhere a caldera, because this tuff came from a caldera type eruption, as you can see on the right here. Where was that caldera? That's the answer. We know it's a granitic mass that breached to the surface via a caldera eruption. We know that. But where? Well, let's have a look at the actual tuff. Here it is over at the Windsor Quarry. Now, one of the Windsor quarries, this is the one up near the Windsor City, Windsor Town Hall. I mean, this is like 60 metres thick here. They've got a few rock bolts in there because it's starting to break up. So, of course, this goes down another 40 metres underneath this. And it's really hard, 100 to 150 megapascals. It's way harder than your driveway at home and your concrete. So this is back at further into Windsor. This is in behind the chemist warehouse, etc., the furniture shops there. You can go in here. This is open. Look at this wall. It is so beautiful. That is cut straight into the tuff. And this is where, down the end of this laneway, you can see some of the angular polygon columns of this stuff. It's amazing. So around Brisbane, there's some great places to see this. This is the Kangaroo Point Cliffs. I think everyone knows these landmarks. You look at something, it's about 40 metres high. You can see a bloke hanging off a rope there. And this goes down another 150 metres into the ground. The tunnel's in this. We'll have a brief look at that later on. There's another, I think, a slightly better spot to see this from is over the other side of the river at the Howard Smith Wharf Complex. Apart from a great place to get a feed, and you can get a ferry there now, these elevator shafts go up and you can walk these stairs and you can stop at every level and see the tuff close up at different levels, which is hard to do elsewhere. And you can see little gravel horizons and faults in there. Let's whiz up to Aspley and look at something very unique. So there are not too many places where you can say you can see where the tuff touches the Narrowleaf Fernvale, but let me tell you, this is one. You can see the rocks from one side, the massive change, about a 80-degree fault running through there. This is all brecciated Narrowleaf Fernvale, somewhat cooked. And this is Brisbane welded tuff. Here it is here. I'll bring you down. There's some beautiful pieces of quartz in this too. This has picked up a lot of breccia along the way. So folks, here we have a cross section through the Clem 7 tunnel. So the pink stuff is tuff, the purple stuff is shale, and the yellow stuff is gravel, and the dark purple stuff is metamorpho shale. So as you can see, they dug quite a lot of stuff out here. That tunnel is 12.4 metres round each tube, and there's 2 tubes. So the portal we're looking at here is up at Bowen Hills, and you can see the tuff under Bowen Hills is a few hundred metres thick. It's really amazing. And there's little pockets of gravel there with the river. That little cutout there is pretty much the Howard Smith Wharf area, which is, I think, just incredible the way they've done that. So you see the way the tuff is layered into the shale. That's because that was the shape of the landscape 220 something million years ago when this stuff came down. It filled in. Those pyroclastic flows filled in the valleys, the rivers, the lakes, the little ponds. It filled it in with all of this stuff. And it's just amazing as to how much of this is actually under Brisbane as well. Here we are in Clark Lane, right at the top of Adelaide and Ann Street. And what we have here is a really old tuff wall. This thing has been here a long time. Just looking at its style and the type of stone that's in it. But well over 100 years. I'll see if I can find some sort of history on it. But we talked briefly about why sandstone decays and it's not great for walls, but as you can see, tuff also has its problems. If you choose the wrong tuff, it'll also decay. Thought I'd get you a close-up of this tuff actually in this wall. It's full of porosity. Look at all the little gas bubbles, and it's got bits of rock in it. As you can see, there's a bit there. Quite a few bits here. Very sharp rock too. So it looks like it's shale that's been picked up. See if I can find you one with some river pebbles in it. Here's a piece of tuff here with some holes in it. Those holes are natural, by the way. They're just gas holes. But as you can see, right in the middle of this, I'll put my finger in there for you to see. There is a piece of quartz. Sharp edges. Now that quartz has been in that rock for 250 million years. It's actually another piece just over here. So yeah, this is just in a rock wall in Clark Lane. As you can see, there's a lot of porosity in that, which means when that tuff settled, it was full of gas. And the gas was still in there when it went solid. This stuff is called rhyolitic ignimbrite. See, I did learn how to say it. And this is welded ignimbrite. It is tough stuff, tuff. we can have that argument another time. Anyway, I thought it was interesting. So the tuff's been used for a lot of stuff in Brisbane over the years. This is the Windsor Town Hall. I thoroughly recommend you visit this one day. Check it out. Park around the back there, and it's just an amazing place. I've killed the auto on this because the wind was horrendous. But it's just a beautiful place, and it's right next to the quarry, just behind those trees, where that stone was quarried. St Paul's, and my favourite church in Brisbane, bar none. However, it's not called St Paul's because it's on St Paul's Terrace. St Paul's Terrace is called St Paul's Terrace because it's in front of St Paul's. The church, the street was named after the church. A beautiful tuff building with some lovely limestone trim there. Not limestone, sorry, sandstone trim. And of course, St John's Anglican Cathedral, the biggest pile of tuff you're ever going to see. One would say maybe too much, but yeah, too much is never enough with tuff. I love it. I really do. It's an amazing structure. I can't say it's particularly good looking, but it's just amazing. It's what it is. Still there. That's why there's no tuff left in Brisbane. It's all in this damn church. And of course, it was used all over the place. I was walking through the exhibition a while back when they were building that Riverlink thing, and they just cut through the tuff supports on the bridge that used to go underneath the railway line. So you get to see this. You'll never see it again. They cut through, you can see the beautiful tuff blocks there they've cut through, and behind it is more tuff. That's that rock behind it is also tuff. The exhibition grounds is on tuff. There's the new Riverlink line going through there. And where else is it used in Brisbane? Well, here it is. It's everywhere. Just look down. The gutters. There are heaps and heaps of gutters in Brisbane still that are made out of Brisbane tuff. It's very hard wearing. As I said, it's very strong. I think it's an amazing looking stone. Probably a pain in the bum to actually work with because it's so hard, but there it is, and it's all through Brisbane. You just need it. Once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. So where is this caldera-style supervolcano that caused the Brisbane tuff? Well, if we have a look at the extent of the Brisbane tuff, it can't really be any further north than here, because there is no tuff north of that. And if it had been there, we'd see it. It wouldn't have all been eroded away. And we know it can't be much further south than here, because, there'd be a hole in the tuff, which there isn't. We'd see a hole in the other rocks. So I wonder if there was another type of map we could look at. Well, there is. Let's have a look at the magnetics of southeast Queensland, the high resolution magnetics. And if we do that, and apart from just being an unbelievably good looking map that I'd like a t-shirt of, if we come in on the north side of Brisbane, you can see Bramble Bay and Bribie Island and Moreton Island there, and you see Redcliffe. If you come in here, you can see there is a hole in the magnetics. Right about Strathpine. So it's sort of not too high, not too low. Well, let's look for some confirmation. Let's only make a map that's got rocks that are older than 200 million years. Well, there you go. Strathpine. Look at that. The magnetics, the geography, and the rock ages sort of point to Strathpine. Probably Brendale, actually, but we'll go Strathpine. So, it is my hypothesis that the Strathpine supervolcano caused the Brisbane tuff. And because it was a caldera-style volcano, it didn't produce big cinder cones or anything, and it's all been eroded away, and it's covered with rocks like the Petrie Formation, etc., which are 50 million years younger than this event. I know one thing's for sure. Even though it'd be an awesome thing to see, it'd be the last thing you ever saw. For sure. Well, there you go, folks. the Strathpine Super Volcano. You heard it first here. Had to come from somewhere. You know, I bumped into one of my subscribers the other day at the shops, and if you ever see me, I'm always happy to chat, stop and chat and say g'day. And g'day Bill, thanks for stopping me. And we talked about the North Pine Fault and the Kenmore Fault. And he said, T-Rox, what makes you tick? I said, filling out forms. Anyway, even after that, if you dig the vibe, like and subscribe. And you know what I'm going to say. T-Rox out.